Ready. Thanks. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, we are into second session, and first of all, welcome everybody back to the second session. And we would like to, before starting the session, we would like to appreciate the speakers by giving them a memento, especially made from the Surat textile. So, Dr. Jay Chandra. आप बीच में आ जाओ।
अच्छा वो पे आप
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Madam Drishti Patel. आप लीजिए। सब
ये हो रहा है
अच्छा।
20 February 2023 आपके जो सिटी ऑफिस
हाँ, yes.
we were there, we were again talking same RRMS, we had given entire knowledge series.
Okay, good. So now I would like to request Chandrika ma'am to moderate the session.
Thank you, Ashish ji, and thanks to all those who could join us back. We are hoping that more people can join us because I think ये दोनों session are very good and very informative. We in the first session saw how we can leverage the upcoming EU legislations to give more rights to the suppliers, give the supplier voices more heard by the brand so that the purchasing practices can be improved. This session is completely about the environmental due diligences, and for that we have two very knowledgeable organizations who have joined as knowledge partners for this. One is RRMA, so, uh, which RRMA, which is being represented by the Global Product Compliance. One of the steering members and the founding members are also from there of RRMA. They have joined hands with City for multiple awareness creation and capacity building programs, basically on chemical compliances and management of the regulations. We also have, so from GPC, I welcome Dr. Jayachandran Nair, the CEO of Global Product Compliance, and Ms. Drashti Patel, Regulatory Manager from Global Product Compliance, who will be giving a presentation on the compliance management. We also welcome Sri Prashant Pant, a well-known name in the sector. He's a South Asia Director and Competence Center Director for ZDHC Foundation, which has again been working on the capacity building of the industries. And I hope textile industry is, of course, it's basically for textile and footwear that ZDHC has been working a lot on improving the compliance management. We would really like to know from both the speakers what are the low-hanging fruits in terms of the due diligence requirements, and of course, where there is more time for preparation needed so that the industry can brace up for these requirements by the time some of them become mandatory in the major export destinations for textiles. With that, I would now hand over to Dr. Jayachandran Nair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chandrima, for giving this opportunity to the city. Thanks, SGCCI, for giving us this platform to educate all the stakeholders who have joined. Um, and also those who are remotely attending these particular sessions. I mean, we will be taking you through the requirements and the compliance part basically, which the textiles and the clothing supply chain need to understand. In the first session, we all could hear activities related to the information that you need to line up for the due diligence part of it. And they also touched upon various angles towards the chemical management and things of working togetherness. So all that plus more on the chemical side, what all you need to do in your supply chain, we'll try to walk you through. You can stop me wherever you have any questions because we believe the understanding is more important. And this particular presentation we are throwing from the platform of RRMA. RRMA is a not-for-profit organization. It's a platform being made for all the people from the field of regulatory compliance to come together and with an objective to see that they understand the conceptual part of the compliances and try to increase their knowledge bank. That's what all RRMA is trying to do through this platform. It's a not-for-profit organization. And we welcome industries to become member of RRMA. Thereby, we try to reach out more to all the people who are working in the field of regulation in various industries. So he's working with the mission to have an impactful regulatory system and increase the large pool of trained and qualified regulatory professionals for that matter. And the mission of this in that lines is to see that in the regulatory implications which people will be facing, especially from the field of businesses, products and supply chain, we want to increase those things to this platform. And if you look at the chair of RRMA, it's Great Dansett. He is the managing director of the Dansett company. He is also the secretary general at Helsinki Chemicals Forum. And he was the person who has driven the European reach. So he was the executive director at ICA and has been working there from 2004 to until end of 2017. Also, he represents Also, he was a coordinator at the UNIDO in Colombia. And if you look at the co-chair, we have Anil Johri is the co-chair of the RRMA. He is associated with the Bureau of Indian Standards for more than 25 years. He has been advisor in the Export Inspection Council with the Department of Commerce, and he has worked in the National Accreditation Board of the Certification Board. He's also engaged with the oil and gas, the FSSI in food, and CDSCO in the drugs and medical services. So with this core, two chair and the co-chair having immense experience in the various sectors of there, the key objective of RRMA for that matter is to develop an interactive platform for professionals, provide regulatory updates to the members, support the regulatory policies in Department of Technicals and Regulations, thereby ultimately create the capacity among the stakeholders so that they can move forward in their business lines. And to do all those, the three main activities which RRMA undertakes for now, it is the regulatory help desk, we have got internship program and the capacity building and awareness activity. So with that, and for today's session, as we will be having 6 main contents, I would like to take the first 3 contents for that matter. The remaining 3 contents will be taken up by my colleague Drishti Patel, who is very much sitting to my left. So now just to go within the chemical part of the compliances. Now, all of you know that when you open up an industry, there are a couple of things which you have to do it mandatorily. And that compliance part comes in various forms as far as the industry is concerned. In the morning, we heard about the solar system speakers. So they have their own way of handling the things, own requirement towards the compliances. Textile industry per se has a different requirement. Chemical industry has a different requirement. But in totality, if you look at it, there are national requirements, there are international requirements, there are customer requirements, and certification requirements, which are more or less therefore all the sectors in whichever sectors you try to operate. In addition to that, there are internal policies, procedures, and guidelines which one has to abide so that one can have a good consent to operate, right? So consent to operate and then to place the product in the international market of yours. Then if you come to the chemical side of it, chemical management is another aspect which the industry need to take care of it. where comes the importance of proper handling of the chemicals and its use and its disposal. So when it comes to textile segments, you'll be handling a lot of chemicals for dyeing and printing for that matter. Both those are into very, I mean, yarn and those things may not be directly required, but yes, in that segment as well, they use chemicals of various processing factors, right? So how do you handle those chemicals? How to dispose those chemicals? How to use it? How do you mitigate the maximum utility of the chemicals becomes very important aspect from the chemical management perspective. Then there are certain chemical substances which are considered to be restricted. So RSL substances are something which are very harmful to the environment and human beings. So if you're using those things, you need to take care of those chemicals prior to its use. Safety data sheet, a basic information which is very much mandatory, especially for those who are using, and that was the no, I mean, they are the factory level people. I mean, those are basically handling those chemicals. So it has 16 points, very simple to understand. But if you do not give that information to the grassroots workers, those handling will be, those handling chemicals will need to have, they will face difficulty rather when they are trying to handle it, especially something when it goes wrong. They will not know how to mitigate those incidences, right? And then comes the chemical risk assessment, where evaluation to mitigate risk is very important in terms of the chemical compliances. Apart from these two major things, the environmental angle need to be taken care of, where you will be trying to abide by the waste management protocols, environmental permits to be obtained, impact assessment you have to do when you are going to set up an industry or when you're going to use those things, you have to calculate the complete material balance, water balance, things like that, right? And a sustainable practices for implementing all those things that you are trying to set up with an environmental friendly approach. So these are the major chemical angles given from the textile perspective. And again, if you look at the chemicals, we are talking especially for those which are hazardous chemicals. I mean, Prasad Pant is there, he'll be talking about the actionables when the hazardous chemical has to be treated in a different platform from the ZDSC perspective. But if you look at the hazardous chemicals, mote taur pe the three categories. We can differentiate them into the physical hazards, the health hazards, and the environmental hazards. So these three are the criteria by which they have been defined, depending upon the various toxic uh, toxicity and the impact that it can create on the end users. And in the textile sectors, if you look at the standards, there could be two types to our understanding. One is the regulatory standards and second is the mandatory standards. Now within regulatory standards, if you look at the chemical side, there is REACH in the morning session also. The speakers were talking about the REACH compliances. In the entire table they showed about the from the European perspective. So one word was mentioned about REACH in reals is big thing to dive into, so that all the products which you are trying to place in the European market, especially textiles and the clothings, are also compliant in the REACH angle. So REACH is one thing, and in Europe it's REACH, but if you move to other countries, like China has something on the REACH, you will find REACH in UK, you will find REACH also in Turkey, and India is also not far away. So we are also working in that direction. So REACH and REACH regulation is something which are the regulatory standards. And then from the pollution perspective, the pollution control legislation has to be abided, that is IPPC, and the consumer product safety legislations. There are still many more voluntary standards. And these voluntary standards are being done. Why? So that you follow the social ethics, you try to be more responsible, you try to come up with sustainable products to ensure that environment is being taken care of. So again, I mean, this slide is more or less has the same information in the past, the previous slide, but here we'll talk about the voluntary certifications. In that, we have given some examples to you. Eco Passport and ZDSE, Pansap, I mean, your topic is much here. I'll not speak much on that because you're already going to talk on those topic of ZDSE. So from this, all of you attending here, how many of you are aware about the Eco Passport? Majority of you are aware of it, right? You all have obtained the Eco Passport, right? So and there are various steps in that. I mean, there is the leather standard, there is the standard Okitox 100, and then there is the Eco Passport. So once you apply for this, I mean, basically when you are doing with the intention to safeguard the environment, and then after getting the certification, is mandatory for you to see that you try to implement those things judiciously. So the purpose of getting this passport makes in the good direction, so that you can try to implement those in making businesses, right? So the various what you call limitations are being prescribed, specifications are being laid out. in all those segments of Ecotex, that is the institutional party which provides this certification, and they carry out the screening of your samples, they do the site visits, and then they try to give the certificates to you. ZDSC, of course, is this very important thing which we understand, because it helps the industries to not only work on the safer side of the environment, but also to see that people working in the organization are being taken care of, the various protocols being laid by ZDSC for that matter. I do not know, there will be more people who are already committed to ZDSC, apart from the three which we are trying to list out here, and many from this segment of Surat as well, to my knowledge, are complying already with ZDSC. And there are various levels of this ZDSC, level 1, 2, 3. Each levels, to my understanding, has seriously to industry has to contribute and get those screening through by the officials of ZDSC whenever they come and inspect the premises, or when they try to validate all those samples being shared with them. GOT is also, many of you already may be having GOT certification with you, so I will not go much into that. But yes, these process, what it helps us is to not only give a sustainable product, but this also helps you to put your brand in the market. Now, if you look at both the angles, this is going to help you in the longer run. Blue sign, many of you already might have taken blue sign, and I mean, this also was the same principles, but then here there is the people who can apply for the blue sign are the chemical manufacturers, chemical suppliers, and the brands and retailers. So here again, they undergo a very strict what you call scrutiny. You are supposed to provide all the information upfront to the blue sign authorities who comes and inspects those documents. They will validate all those things, and then, to my understanding, there is a set of products which you can already align with them. They go with those numbers, and then only those products will be considered within the blue sign, subject to you clearing the complete audit process. So once you give them the documentation, which they call a screening part, they study those things, they come and then visit your premises based on the informations, they provide you corrective actions, and once we implement the corrective actions, the certification will be provided. So this helps not only because many of the brands these days want the chemical suppliers also to align themselves, so that the brand is ultimately selling out a sustainable product in the market. Cradle to cradle, this, anybody is aware of this particular activity certification? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Constructions, yeah. So, but then this is something which is, we do not know tomorrow, this also will come into the arena and the ambit of, people in the chemicals and textile also to follow, because it starts with one segment, and when they see that it's going to be really working good for that segment, they may try to implement. But anyways, it's a good concept being taken up, I suppose. They have also gotten, verification protocols, and the validity of each certificate is for 2 years.
Why this is not same as a circularity requirement?
No, so what he's talking about is Ecotex and GOTS and they are all full
Equal levels, yeah.
So they are certification schemes
Yeah.
for the final product, and that includes your process, your input chemical level. Generally provide a label. So the consumer is, if I go and buy some garment which is packed with Ecotex 100 or packed with GOTS, so it is like a guarantee that this has been evaluated.
These are all supporting certification to align with the sustainability part of it, and indirectly indicating that the manufacturer is environment friendly and taking care of the requirements as per the brands or their buyers' needs, which again could be tagged to what was discussed today's morning sessions. So all are linked, so it becomes very important for people to to align themselves in the supply chain. Yeah, Ecolabel the same is in the same category for that matter. There's a process. Inditex as well, there's in the similar lines. There are already some few brands, and now they're also coming up with their own goals. Like, I mean, ZDSC also has their own goals and objective that by 2040, you also would like to come down to some level in terms of achieving the numbers which can reduce the pollution and contaminants for that matter. So here, basically, what we are trying to say that all these things plus the sustainability part and the chemical management part are very important, because without chemicals, things can't move forward. And in the textile as well, we all use chemicals. But then it is said that the chemicals contribute 7% of global climate change. And I mean, and in the terms of energy consumption as well, almost 10%. But then that has to happen. But how we can go hand in hand and still continue our growth is by doing something which is sustainable. For that, again, there are European Green Deal is something is coming up, and they aim to have a zero pollution, toxic-free environment, climate neutrality, biodiversity. They speak on those aspects. You look at the chemical strategy for sustainability, and they focus on the safe and sustainable by design concept, wherein the chemicals and materials and functionalities to minimize the environmental footprint. Green chemistry for that matter, for especially for those chemicals which are hazardous in terms, they're trying to see how it can be manufactured with some alternatives which are having greener processing, which can reduce the contaminants. So ultimately, all these chemical safety management sustainability is aiming to what? It's aiming to protect the human health and environment, to create more corporate social responsibilities, try to understand the regulatory compliance requirement and do the risk management. Thereby, they become more competitive in the market, the other way around, and their operational efficiency increases, and there's also innovation happening out there. So we spoke in general, but now if you look at,
Yeah, I'd say.
so we spoke about the aspect, but then if we try to come towards the regulatory landscape, there are various countries which are coming up with an established concept of REACH and REACH regulations. And there are still many more countries which are coming with more and more regulation. Before this session, I was just told by my colleague that even Ukraine has now implemented the European REACH. So REACH has come up also in Ukraine, a country which is already having a lot of issues upfront. So that means indicates that their line of approach towards having a safer environment where they can take care of the people for that matter. So European REACH is the first to come up, and it started way back in 2007. Many of you knew already about it. Now this is mainly for those who are manufacturing chemicals and having exports to the European market. Those who are in textiles will not come 100% need to do such registrations, but if there is substance of intentional release from their commodity and or there are substances which are a very high concern, they need to take care of those compliances, because textiles and clothings per se would follow the definition of articles within the European REACH. But here are some of the deadlines. Anybody into manufacturing of chemicals here? Or maybe I do not know if in the who's attending virtually. So these are more applicable to those people who are into the chemical manufacturing and exports to the European market. And there is the option of, appointing only, saying something? Yeah, the option of appointing only representative, and they can do the needful for that matter. Likewise, if you look at in USA, the main thing which you have to look at is the Toxic Substance Control Act. So if your chemicals which are there in your product, and if it is to be exported to US, you have to ensure that the TSCA is being met with, and the authorities of EPA who regulates those things. And there are two lists, an open list and a closed list for TSCA. If it is in the open list, easy to export. If it is not in the open list, you have to check whether it's in the confidential list or not. If not, then make an application for making its listing out there by submitting all these requisite documents. But coming to the textile part of it, what are the direct implication for the exports which you are making into US from the textile perspective? To our understanding, the Code of Federal Regulation, that is the point number 16 CFR is applicable to the textile part of it. Anybody having exports to US from here? US. Okay, so you may be aware of this particular requirement in US. Okay, so this is something which we understand. Maybe you textile experts can guide you much, but these are the requirement where it's more related to the labeling part of it, and something which is related to the flammability part of it, like a substance which is you're exporting should follow certain what they call criteria for the fabrics when it is tried to be lit. If it burns beyond the limit, it has some limitations. So there it is governed by the various sections of the 16 CFR, starting from 1610 onwards. And there are various parts within that same 16 CFR which one need to abide by if the exports goes to US for the textiles and clothing. Yeah. Right. Probably yes, because we took it more from the textile and clothing complete perspective. Correct. Correct. Okay. Own requirements. Correct. Very true. And this again is for the, if I'm not mistaken, the Textiles and Wool and Fur Act, you know. So there with the flammability becomes still a further issue, I suppose.
So see, these are national requirements or private brand requirements?
National. So these are the national requirements. National requirements. National requirements. So this was as per the USA government authorities, they need to clear all those things when they're exporting. There are some examples also which probably they still be covering at the later part when she's going to talk about it. Every country has informations. I mean, they also have a safeguard, what they call it. So it has to be checked whether any issues already happened for a particular commodity or not. Likewise, in Korea, there is a Korea reach. So since none of you are having any chemicals for the matter exported to Korea, I'll just run through it that, you know, it's basically the Koreans can do the registration directly. And if you want to export to Korea, if you don't have an office out there, you can appoint an only representative and they can do the registration on the behalf of the non-Korean exporters. Yeah. So there are deadlines. Now, if you look at here, if you are exporting any textile also to Korea, for that matter, what the buyer on Korea can ask you is something which I will try to show in this slide of yours. At the top, you can see PEC substances. So PEC is a priority existing chemicals. So these chemicals are in a way they are having hazardous properties. Therefore, they have been identified by the Korean authorities, which has mandated them to have a prior deadline for registration. And if you are exporting over 1 ton per annum, then it is was mandatory. Uski deadline chali gayi. So what is the importance of that to you over here is that आपके कपड़े में ऐसा कुछ चीज अब यूज करते हो तो योर बायर में आस्क यू दैट सच थिंग्स हैज टू बी टेकन केयर ऑफ. Likewise in China, there are three details: the China reach and the Taiwan reach. Again, this regulated. There is also an inventory list, and in the inventory list, you have to check whether the chemicals which is exported to China and Taiwan are listed or not. If it is not listed in that, means it's a new chemical substance. Then it has different implications. You have to first register and then you have to export to China. So indirectly, why we are saying this information sharing with you is because when you try to buy some chemicals, okay, for your textile industry, you should know what are the requirement or what questions can come to me tomorrow from my buyer for that matter, right? So if you know that, then at least you will try to source a chemical which is already compliant. अगर आपको चाइना में बेचना है और चाइना में आपका केमिकल का लिस्टिंग नहीं है तो आपका प्रोडक्ट को आपका बायर इसमें है क्या, तो बोला हाँ है, कैसे कहाँ से, बोले मेरे डाइंग इसमें है, मैंने तो लगाया नहीं है. तो यू हैव टू आस्क सप्लाई चेन तो भाई तुम्हारा जो केमिकल्स है उसमें लिस्टेड है कि नहीं है. दैट्स द मेन रीजन व्हाई वी आर गिविंग दिस एजुकेशन टू यू, सो यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट टू बाय, हाउ टू बाय एंड सोर्स इट प्रॉपरली. तो चाइना में आप देखोगे बहुत सारी चीज आ रही है, उसमें तो इवन टूथपेस्ट के लिए भी डेडलाइंस है. आप जो लिपस्टिक यूज करो उसके लिए भी केमिकल्स की डेडलाइंस आ चुकी है. बट द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज द वन आउट इन द ब्लॉक नंबर 1, वहां पे इंपोर्टेशन के लिए और एक्सपोर्टेशन के लिए वहां पे उन्होंने कुछ केमिकल्स की रिस्ट्रिक्शन कर दी है. कहाँ पे? चाइना में. सो अगर आप ऐसे कोई प्रोडक्ट यूज करते हो जिसमें वो केमिकल्स इन्वॉल्व है, यू नीड टू बी केयरफुल कि एटलीस्ट ट्राई टू यूज एन ऑल्टरनेटिव सोर्स. Likewise in Japan, you look at the number of regulations like CSCL है वहाँ पे, ENC और ENCS क्या है, वहाँ पे भी एक इन्वेंटरी लिस्ट है जापान में भी. जैसे अपन देखा कि ताइवान में लिस्ट थी, चाइना में लिस्टिंग थी, यूरोप में वहाँ पे भी लिस्टिंग है, यूएस में लिस्टिंग है. सेम वे जापान में भी केमिकल्स की लिस्टिंग है. अगर उसमें लिस्टेड है तो कोई इश्यू नहीं है फॉर स्पेसिफिक एप्लीकेशंस. लाइकवाइज वहाँ पे इंडस्ट्री सेफ्टी एंड हेल्थ लॉ है. There are laws for the pollutant release to the environment. There are the poisonous and deleterious substance control law. So these laws are governed in the chemical requirements for exported to Japan. Indonesia, madam, Subhi said, madam, Indonesia के बारे में बोल रहे थे. Mosmi, she was talking about Thailand as well. So in these regions also there are chemical regulations which are very important, which need to be taken care of, or at least you should know about it. Indonesia में B3 करके है. जितने भी हैजर्डस केमिकल्स आपके हैं उसको B3 के टर्मिनोलॉजी वहाँ पे जानते हैं. B3 इज द एब्रिविएशन ऑफ 3 वर्ड्स एंड दे आर द इंडोनेशियन वर्ड्स. तो वो बोलने आप लोगों को बोलने को नहीं आता वो चीज उनके लैंग्वेज में, तो उन्होंने इसको शॉर्ट में B3 कर दिया. The Philippines also has various compliance requirements, yeah, and Thailand in the same way. वियतनाम आप देखो, वियतनाम में भी है। वियतनाम में तो उन्होंने और भी एक बड़ा लिस्ट बनाया है कि वहाँ पे आप देखेंगे लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में इंडस्ट्री कंडीशनल इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल्स, उसका नाम देखिए, तो कंडीशनल इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल सामने रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या होगी बता दिया है, सर्टिफिकेट फॉर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ कंडीशनल इंडस्ट्रियल केमिकल्स। यू लुक एट द नंबर 2 रिस्ट्रिक्टेड केमिकल्स, तो उसके लिए भी लाइसेंस लेना पड़ता है। प्रोहिबिटेड केमिकल्स, देन देयर आर हजार्डस केमिकल्स रिक्वायरिंग इंसिडेंट प्रिवेंशन रेस्पॉन्सिबल प्लान है। सो वेरियस केमिकल्स की जो है आपका, उसके सामने उसकी स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या है वो भी क्लियरली लैंडस्केप में बताया फॉर वियतनाम रेगुलेशंस। इंडिया आप देखेंगे, आई मीन आपको इंडिया में कंप्लायंस आ रहा है करके मालूम था? कौन सा? ये इंपोर्ट के लिए भी रहेगा और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए भी रहेगा। हाँ, तो ये बेसिकली टेक्सटाइल वालों को डायरेक्टली एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, जो केमिकल्स मैन्युफैक्चर करे उनके लिए एप्लीकेबल है। जैसे यूरोप की रीच है, वैसे इंडिया का भी इसको इंडिया रीच बोल सकते हैं। अभी इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुआ है, बट आप जब सोर्सिंग करोगे आपका केमिकल्स, आपको ये ध्यान रखना है कि आप सब कंप्लायंट बंदे से खरीदो, इसलिए आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट बनता है अभी। सो इट्स फॉर नॉट टुडे बट फॉर टुमारो, सो एटलीस्ट आपके जो प्रोक्योरमेंट डिपार्टमेंट दे कैन आइडेंटिफाई इस पे कौन कंप्लायंट हो रहा है कौन नहीं कर रहा है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर भी जो सबसे हाई कंसर्न उसको आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे, हैजार्डस को आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे। और एक और जो चीज़ है वो केम इंडिया पोर्टल है, यहाँ पे इंडस्ट्रीज जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करते हैं केमिकल्स, दे आर सपोज टू सबमिट ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन इन दैट, सो दैट एवरी मंथली दे हैव टू सबमिट इट, एंड दे हैव टू आल्सो मेक इट ए क्यूमुलेटिव एनुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन। अगर एक अभी फॉर एग्जांपल यहाँ पे कोई जो बड़ी कंपनी है सूरत में फॉर एग्जांपल, तो उनकी कंपनी यहाँ पर भी, उनकी कंपनी अनेक जगह पर है सूरत के अंदर, तो जो कॉर्पोरेट कंपनी है दे हैव टू फर्स्ट रजिस्टर इट, and then they have to tag their units also into their particular registration, and every unit therefore has to submit the information to the authorities. So that is very important information। क्या चीज की होगी, जो आपने कितना प्रोडक्ट बनाया और उसका रॉ मटेरियल कहाँ कहाँ से खरीदा, वो हैजार्डस है नॉन हैजार्डस सब आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन देना मैंडेटरी है। तो इफ यू ट्राई टू फॉलो दिस कंप्लायंसेस, तो आपका नॉन कंप्लायंसेस नहीं होगा, और अगर नॉन कंप्लायंसेस नहीं होगा तो ट्रेड एंड बिजनेस में इसका इम्पैक्ट कम आ गया, सिंपल लॉजिक है। बट अगर आप नॉन कंप्लायंट हो तो इट कैन बी मल्टीपल लॉसेस, नॉट ओनली द बिजनेस लॉस बट द मोर लॉस कम्स फ्रॉम द नेम विच गोज ऑन द ब्रांड। सो इसलिए दी ब्रांडेड कंपनीज है, जो जो ब्रांड्स का मटेरियल बेच रहे हो, जब आपसे कुछ कंप्लाइंट चीजें मांग रही है, उसके पीछे का रीजन ये है कि दे वांट टू स्टे aligned with the compliances, because for them the reputation damage they cannot tolerate, which is much more than the business loss to them. So when they have that in their mind, they want all of you in the supply chain to comply with, that's the reason हमने पिछली जो स्लाइड्स बताया है, आपको डायरेक्टली एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, बट आप जो सोर्सिंग करोगे केमिकल्स का, अगर आप ध्यान रखोगे चीजों का, आपको आगे चल के दिक्कतें नहीं आएगी। या एग्जैक्टली, मैं टुडे मैडम वाज सेइंग दैट अगर वहाँ पे 32 सेंट्स है तो हम लोग इंडिया वाले वो उसको 30 करने को ट्राई करें तो हमारा नहीं, तो हमें तो चलेगा पूरा बिजनेस वहाँ पे। व्हाई बांग्लादेश इज ग्रोइंग अप, यू सी दे आर रियली कमिंग अप विद लॉट ऑफ इनोवेशंस, क्या कुछ नहीं था उनके पास। अब इवन इंडिया के अभी ये साहब मुझे बता रहे थे दे आर एग्जिबिटिंग इन बांग्लादेश, and people from India are also going to be having multiple stalls out there. Not only the textile industry, even the colorant suppliers are going there. I know big chemical suppliers from India are exhibiting in the Bangladesh show. That become a hub of it. 2-3 reasons, because वहाँ पे अभी regulation आ रही है अभी, and especially many big brand buyers are are having their toll manufactured products like made in Bangladesh, and they say you have to implement this, therefore in this in it's back to back. So I am supplying to Bangladesh, so they have to abide by what they ask me to comply with. So I mean basically it's all again now connected to the risk, why they do it, because if you do not do a proper risk management, then it will be difficult for Bangladesh also to export their commodity to maybe European or to the branded companies. So in textile and clothing, risk management also becomes very important. दो चीज से बाहर आती है, आपका अगर प्रोडक्ट हैजार्डस है तो रिस्क कहाँ से मिलेगा मुझे, कितना मेरा उसका एक्सपोजर है। ये ट्यूबलाइट से भी मुझे होता है एक्सपोजर, इवन हम जो मर्क्यूरी इसके अंदर जाता है उसका, तो उसमें मैं कितना टाइम एक्सपोज है उससे मेरा लिमिट्स मालूम पड़ता है। तो मोर आई एम एक्सपोज सच थिंग्स, तो मोर वुड बी द हैजार्ड इम्पैक्ट ऑन मी। तो ये दो चीजें जो है, व्हेन यू यूज योर केमिकल्स यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड उसका केमिकल रिस्क कितना है इन माई एंड एप्लीकेशन। कई कपड़े में से कलर निकलता है, कई लोग को कलर की एलर्जी होती है, सो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दोज, और एलर्जी भी सबको नहीं होगी, एलर्जी भी आपने जब पहना तो नहीं होगा, आप उसको पूरा दिन पहनते रहोगे तो होगा शायद। Therefore, exposure is important. Equally important is the hazard that it can cause to your system. तो उसकी टॉक्सिकोलॉजिकल निकोटॉक्सिकोलॉजिकल इम्पैक्ट अपने को समझना चाहिए। And best way to manage chemical is trying to abide by the norms, reduce using hazardous chemicals, follow the regulatory compliances, stay within the limit. If you follow these basic things, you can manage the chemicals properly. And SVS is something which is important to you, and this is substance of very high concern. If I'm not mistaken, the 241 substance in the SVSA list, and these 241 substances are having properties which are carcinogenic, having mutagenic impact and reproductive affecting substances. So अगर आपका ये कैंसर फॉर्मिंग है, रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम को अफेक्ट करने वाले केमिकल्स है, ऐसे 241 केमिकल्स है टोटल ऐसे आइडेंटिफाई हुए हैं। वैसे केमिकल्स अगर आपका ये प्रोडक्ट में है तो उसको उसकी लिमिट जो है वो 1.1% वेट बाय वेट है, तो आपकी आर्टिकल्स में उसके ऊपर से वो नहीं होना चाहिए। तो दिस इज व्हाट इज दे यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपका तो बेसिकली अपना आर्टिकल्स के अंदर व्हाट देयर आस्किंग यू इज टू सी कि आपके यूरोपियन रीच की कंप्लायंस में सब्सटेंस ऑफ वेरी हाई कंसर्न है कि नहीं। दिस इज द फर्स्ट थिंग यू हैव टू सी। हैविंग फेयर एक्सपोर्ट्स, आपका कोई यूरोप में कोई माल बेच रहे, यूरोप यूर एक्सपोर्टिंग, not much means if it is going then they'll be asking you, and who is asking you is will be your buyer, so they will ask you कि आपका प्रोडक्ट में सबसे वेरी हाई कंसर्न है कि आपको तो नहीं पता होगा है कि नहीं। तो इनडायरेक्टली वो ट्राइंग टू टेल यू इज दैट यू शुड आस्क दिस टू योर सप्लायर्स। अगर आप रेडीमेड गारमेंट्स बेचते हैं तो आपके लिए और भी क्रिटिकल है, क्योंकि आपको तो बटन तक का देखना पड़ता है, बटन में कैडमियम है, ये आपके इसके अंदर निकल आता है, राइट। ये जो साइड की जो पट्टी होती है कॉलर में लगाते हैं, पतली सी स्ट्रिप है, राइट, पतला स्ट्रिप है, वो उसमें क्या आपको नहीं पता। तो आप जो रेडीमेड गारमेंट बेचते हैं आपको तो बहुत कुछ करना है कंप्लायंस के अंदर। एग्जैक्टली, आई मीन दैट इज द रीजन के टेक्सटाइल सेगमेंट भले आप एंड यूजर हो बट देन यू आर कनेक्टेड लॉट ऑफ सप्लायर्स हु विल बी हैविंग दिस कार्सिनोनिक मटेरियल उनके प्रोडक्ट के अंदर। मैं एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, आई रिमेंबर बिकॉज मेरे लिए ये टॉपिक काफी नजदीक है। मेरा पीएचडी वाज ऑन द इम्पैक्ट जेतपुर डाई इन दिस मंथ। जेतपुर जानते हो ना, जेतपुर का राजकोट, हाँ। तो उनका बांधनी साड़ीज में मेरा पीएचडी हुआ, उसका इम्पैक्ट एनवायरमेंट। तो मैं जानता हूँ कि वो क्या होता है। तो टेक्सटाइल सेगमेंट में तो आप लोग ईमानदारी से करते हो, बाद में बहुत कुछ पीछे होता है, बहुत कुछ आगे होता है, आपको पता नहीं रहता है। वैसे एक केस स्टडी था जहाँ पे एक कंपनी ने अपना प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में बेचा। उन लोग सब कुछ कंप्लाई करते थे, दे वर डूइंग इट ऑल विद इन द नॉर्म्स। सब कुछ रेडी होने के बाद उनके प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में से उसको उठाया गया, दे फाउंड एन एक्स पैरामीटर वाज बियॉन्ड देयर लिमिट्स, तो उनका प्रोडक्ट फेल हो गया। तो उसने अपना शुरू किया रिस्क असेसमेंट कहाँ से स्टार्ट करने के लिए, पूरा मिटिगेटिंग मेथड ढूंढने के लिए एजेंसी को लगाया। एजेंसी ने फ्रॉम स्टार्टिंग टू एंड तक देखा, कुछ भी नहीं मिला। What they found ultimately was that once the entire thing was ready, it was given to one location for its ironing. तो आयनिंग करने को बाहर देते थे स्टिफनेस करने के लिए। तो आयनिंग जब करते थे, he used to spray something on that and then 2 मिनट में उसको मस्त प्रेस करके वो क्रीज निकलता ही नहीं था। So it was in that particular activity, this particular toxic compound was identified by the agencies. So the point is कि आप रेडीमेड गारमेंट से बेचते हो सर, आपको तो कंप्लायंस की जानकारी पक्का होना चाहिए। तो क्या केमिकल आता है, क्या बटन यूज करते हो, वो उसमें कलर ब्लीच होगा, उसका एलर्जी आएगा, वो क्या है क्या नहीं है, राइट। अभी जो कलर एकदम हाई फास्टनेस है इस कलर का, तो उसको ब्लीडिंग कम होती है, उसमें यू मे फाइंड सब कलर एंड विच आर हैविंग क्रोम और निकल बेस्ड और कैडमियम बेस्ड। उसके कलर फास्टेस्ट मतलब कलर जल्दी उड़ता नहीं है, राइट। और आप लोग जो यूज करते हो कलर, उसमें भी डिपेंड करता है कि आप सॉलिड बेस करते हो कि वाटर बेस करते हो। तो आपको इसकी समझ होनी चाहिए। इसकी दैट इज द मेन रीजन फॉर वी ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन अबाउट द केमिकल पार्ट ऑफ द टेक्स्ट, अदरवाइज आपको डायरेक्टली एप्लीकेबल नहीं है, बट ये आपको जानकारी होना जरूरी है। तो एसवीसी ऐसी चीज है तो जहाँ पे आपको टेस्टिंग कराने पड़ेगा, आप देखो, आप जो केमिकल्स यूज करते हो, आप एजोडाइस, आपका उसमें जो थैलेट, उसमें तो बैंड अमीन्स है एजोडाइस के अंदर, राइट? तो लॉट ऑफ थैलेट्स इन दैट, फॉर्मल्डेहाइड यूज करते हो आप लोग, और पीएफसीस यूज करते होंगे, उसके अंदर हेवी मेटल्स आता होगा। दीज आर द एरियाज विच यू नीड टू सी कि आपके प्रोडक्ट के अंदर कितना फाइनली बचता है, बिकॉज ये सारे पैरामीटर्स एसवीसी की लिस्ट के अंदर होता है। So these are some of the things which you need to take care of it to meet the compliances, and this is to be entered in the supply chain for that matter. ऑलरेडी ये यूरोप में मतलब एसवीसी के तौर पे है। इन अदर कंट्रीज, जैसे हमने कोरिया के बारे में बोला, वहाँ पे पीसी का लिस्टिंग होता है। तो डिफरेंट कंट्रीज डिफरेंट वेज टू आइडेंटिफाई दोज टॉक्सिक एंड हजार्डस केमिकल्स। सो आपको उस चीज़ पर ध्यान देना होगा। यूके बाहर निकल गया फ्रॉम यूरोप, बट वो भी अभी भी वो सेम लिस्ट को फॉलो करती है। So I'll stop here and I'll request Drashti to take forward the remaining 3 points, the 3 contents basically, which is part of the entire presentation for today. Thank you so much. Sure. Sure. We'll give it to the association and the city. They will take the call.
They need to share with our.
We understand. We understand.
Mostly, those people who are connected with this information also.
Correct.
They are into process of compliance.
Correct.
So I'll continue with the same slide. Now, sir have already briefed us on the regulations, the compliance that are required for textile industry, specifically where we use chemicals. So now, why are all these why are all these compliance required in chemical industry? It is important to understand that, and because we are all aware of the challenges that we are facing today in textile as well as in chemical industry. So we should be aware of what actions we take in future, because that's what is going to decide eventually it will decide the future of our planet. So in that case, we should choose sustainability so that we create a future where both industry progress as well as environmental protection both go hand in hand. So when we talk about sustainability, first region country that comes in mind is Europe. So because Europe has been continuously working on creating regulatory frameworks and stringent regulation they are making for their own people. Like the main reasons here are it's because of the chemical waste that goes on for water pollution or industrial waste that have to be landfilled. So these are the main concerns that led to such stringent regulatory framework in Europe. So now, so that is the reason chemical management and sustainability is very much required. And so Europe have developed various strategies for sustainability. So there are certain actions and certain visions they have prepared. So what actions they are taking? So they are mainly dealing, like they have made some mandatory, like extended producer responsibility, EPR. Many of you sitting here must be aware of EPR, which they have made it mandatory for many companies. So this helps in this actions when they make it mandatory for the industries. When they start to work on that, it will help them to reach the vision that they have decided for, like say suppose by 2030, they have decided that all the textile products placed on EU market, it should be durable, repairable, recyclable. It should be free of hazardous substances and produced respecting social rights, which ma'am have explained us in the earlier presentation. So their aim is to achieve a non-toxic, toxic-free environment and then increase the level of protection for both human health as well as environment. Now, this can be achieved by using green chemicals. Now, what are green chemicals? It's not that they are completely safer, but at least they are much better than the existing chemicals that we are using today. So by using this 12 principles of green chemistry, we can achieve sustainable chemicals. And by use of such chemicals, we can at least minimize the hazard of the impact that other chemicals have on this earth. So there are certain innovations in this field, which mainly includes green fabric breakthroughs. Nowadays, we hear that, like we are using vegan leather, we are using natural fabric, which ma'am just recently mentioned. Their company is completely using natural fabrics. So this is nowadays an adaptation by many companies. So it can be considered a revolution in textile industry. Uh, it has a great future, in fact, uh, which includes Pinetex. Many of you must have heard the pineapple revolution. Yeah, the fabric is made from the leaves of pineapple, which eventually goes into agriculture waste. But instead, they are used in preparing fibers, and then they use it in manufacturing apparels. Similar is mycelium leather. It's a fungus leather, spider silk, algae-based textile. Then there are lab-grown cotton, which are free of pesticides and fertilizers. Then there are recycled fibers. So all these are considered to be green fabrics because eventually they help the environment. So the main challenge of using these fabric is, yes, they are cost effective, but as technology advances in future, there are chances that it might lead to decrease in cost also. So, but yes, that's the future that is believed by most of the established countries. Now, discussing about circular economy principles in TNC, textile and clothing industry, the main agenda they follow, the main approach they follow is reuse, recycle, and repurpose. So there are certain principles. I'll just explain it next slide. So these are circular economy R principles, which includes reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink, refurbish, repair. So then there is new principles which have been added: restorative, recover, redesign, which Sir just explained about cradle to cradle, long-lasting product. So the main focus of many countries and many big brands is they are focusing on products which last for longer time and which are sustainable. Now, I would just like to give an example here. There's a company called Elgalife, operating since 2017, based in Germany. So now they used to manufacture certain fabrics, clothes, apparels, I would say. So the problem they were facing was regarding the highly contaminated wastewater and use of a lot of chemicals in their products. So to minimize those risks, they came up with solutions in their company, and then they manufacture biodegradable natural pigments through algae. Even the fabric which they are manufacturing are prepared through the algae fiber, which is instead of being harmful to the skin, it is antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, vitamins, and mineral which protects body and skin. So they have completely changed the vision, and then they have implemented this in a company, which is leading to sustainability in their own company, which is helping them uh, eventually. Another example is Gitanjali Textiles. People must be aware here about this industry as well. So they are the ones who import reused materials from West, and then they utilize those reused material, they recycle it and manufacture other apparels, and then they re-export it to again same regions. So this led to again they are contributing very well to the environment, we would say. So these were the examples. Now, supplier and stakeholder engagement. This has been very well explained by ma'am in our first session, like how supply chain can be very much effective in helping with chemical compliance to other industry. So there are certain strategies that has been used, like some gatekeeping for constant use that there should be one chain of supply, and it should not be changing now and then. These are the main strategy they use to regulate the carbon generation. And yes, so that's what she explained, which because supply chain's role is also very much important because it can drive innovation, it reduces cost and improve overall sustainability. So there are various strategies mentioned here are followed by them. Again, supply and stakeholder management. Now, there are certain practices that are being done, which again, I would say ma'am explained in her presentation, how stakeholders empower the other smaller MSME companies, which again, I would say it affects socially on the laborers who work for the company, and then it eventually leads to some kind of problems in the supply chain. So that is one indirect approach the people use. Now, there are certain technologies and tools for compliance, like how you can know what kind of the chemicals which you are using in your industry, how are they harmful? You should understand what chemical you are using in your industry, which you should be aware of that. So you can check those uh, ingredients, raw material, chemical by using your CAS number. So there is we have a portal for RRMA. There's a link here. You can simply put the chemical name or CAS number and identify the regulation which is applicable to that particular chemical. You can also check what kind of classification is associated with that product. If there are any hazard category, hazard properties associated with that product, so that can be checked from here. So this is one such portal, and we have a similar portal called GPC's Regulatory Intelligence Portal. So it's the same. You can check, you can put your chemical name here, and you can check.
In the GPC portal, if you go see, if it's a member, then they get much more information. But see, we are not depriving anybody to have knowledge from our platform. But आपको अगर डिटेल में चाहिए तो आप मेंबर हो तो आपको डिटेल मिलेगा, अदरवाइज जेनरिक इन्फॉर्मेशन लाइक आपको आप कोई केमिकल यूज कर रहे हो, आपको किसी ना बोला उसमें एलर्जेंस है हुआ कुछ, तो आपको तो फंडामेंटल मालूम है हमारा केमिकल प्रोडक्ट में क्या क्या है, प्रोडक्ट्स में कौन सा केमिकल है, तो उसका कैश नंबर डाल के आप उसका जितना भी केमिस्ट्री जानना चाहते हो, उसका स्ट्रक्चर है, उसका यूज टॉक्सिक इम्पैक्ट क्या है, आपको इसमें से मिल जाएगा.
Tempro exhibition I got talked to Diwan sir. He also told me same way.
Correct.
Detail में member,
हाँ,
general
हाँ.
information you will get.
हाँ.
But more and more detail, if you want to become a member, then you
Right.
entitled for that.
Correct.
Yes.
So even if you are entering the RRMM member, link, there as well you get the information, because they give thing to the members basically. If you enter GPC Regulatory Intelligence Portal, there as well you get the information, because these two platforms are driven to educate the people at large. But जिसको जास्ती information चाहिए तो membership, because RRMM is a not to profit organization, so they also need to run their show. So then members are given more benefit of it.
Yep. So these are the portals, and yes, SDS. Yep. So this slide we have specifically included because in case your textile product have any kind of chemical present in it, and when you're when there are times when you have to prepare SDS for your chemical if required. So these are the software which can be used for the same.
But I have got one small thing. I mean, at the textile finished product level, do you have any labeling protocols followed as on today? Any label protocols are following of the product के ऊपर?
Label, ये
हाँ?
label, eco label वगैरह है.
No, not the eco label, not the eco
Not
label.
eco label, but you're
Like
talking
like आप कोई केमिकल खरीदते हो तो उसमें आपको दिखता है कि भाई ये प्रोडक्ट हैजार्डस है, उसकी पूरी जब आप घर पे हेयर डाई भी खरीदो, उसमें छोटा सा आगे लिखा होता है, उसमें सिंबल का फ्लेवेबिलिटी का सिंबल होता है, या हड्डी का मांस का सिंबल होता है, हाँ, ऐसा कोई फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हो ना? तो एसडी आप तो फिर आपने कभी एसडी तो बनाया नहीं हो. करेक्ट.
only
कोई लेबल्स लगाते नहीं ना?
Yeah. So there is an official directive of EU called as Safety Gate. They have developed this portal. So this is just one example of tools of checking compliance. Now this is the EU Rapid Alert System. They have developed this portal. We have just downloaded few examples here for reference. So now in this safety gate, you can check what all apparels and not just apparels, but any product in which are sold in Europe. You can check from here whether they comply with the regulation or not. So here we have downloaded few example which does not comply with regulation and how. So they have stated reason also. So now this trouser which we see here, it is made up of 100% cotton, but the metallic hook which sir was talking about, because of the metal present in it, because nickel metal is present on it, so it and the percentage which was checked for that, it is more than the percentage which is given in the restricted thing in the document. So this product does not comply with REACH regulation. Similarly, there
So
are.
this example, sorry, I'm taking a
Yes,
minute
yes,
of
yes.
yours. This particular, see, if you look at the country of origin is India. So again, we selected India to give example of India to you. But if you go into the particular website of this safety gate, you can choose any country. So they're indicating that if you are from which country who that has gone to Europe, if you click on that, that country specific information, if anything available, will be visible to you.
So again, one more company from India itself. These are azo dyes have been used in the paint which has been done here. So again, because of using that aromatic amine, it is not it is a skin sensitizer. So hence, this is also not it does not comply with REACH regulation. There's one more example here. This is a leather jacket, and because there is a use of chromium metal here in the buttons here, so again, it causes allergic reaction and can cause cancer. So here again, this product does not comply with REACH regulation. So such portal have been already developed in Europe. They have already made such uh, ready information available this public domain for citizens of Europe. Even we can check that, but this is what they have already worked on, and this is how strict their regulation they are following, right? So that's it. One thing we would like to inform is about RRMA. I would be giving out the brochures. If anyone is interested to become a member of RRMA, then I'll be sharing the brochures with you.
Basically, it's more for the chemical fraternity, but then RMA is like open to educate and send across the knowledge that we had all the people. So from the textile segments, if the people who are having high knowledge, even they want to do some advocacy with the authorities, I mean, even that is a possibility. So we are extending our arms to all of you. If anybody is interested to be part of the RRMA, you're quite welcome. And then maybe they can also share the knowledge to other members of RRMA. Or maybe invited for such talks when GCCI invites all of us. Somebody from Surat can directly come down here and give a talk to all of you. So you would invite people.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's go to no, you can continue. Yeah.
So first of all, thank you, sir, SGCCI for inviting us, inviting me from ZDHC. Anybody has heard of ZDHC over here other than Kumar? Okay, ZDHC, I'll just explain you a little bit on what is ZDHC. So if you can go to the slideshow. Yeah, so ZDHC actually stands for Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals. So in continuation to what Drashti and Jaykumar spoke about chemical management and all, it's all a holistic system for chemical management and is actually not a regulatory compliance. It is actually a brand-driven initiative. It's a voluntary initiative which we are driving. How do I go ahead here?
The bigger one, center.
Yeah. So let's talk about ZDHC and sustainable chemical management. So we usually talk about chemicals where there is a dye house or a finishing company or a leather tannery or a laundry, garment laundry, where a lot of chemicals, dyes are used. And along with water, energy, materials, they come into the factory and all these chemicals will go out somewhere, out of the factory. They will either go in the air, they will go in the wastewater, they will go in the sludge, or they will go on the final product. So really speaking, when we talk about sustainable chemical management, we have to look at input and we have to look at output. So when we look at input, we need to have safe chemicals, we need to use less water, less energy, safe materials, so that we have clean air, clean water, clean soil, and safe materials. That's the whole idea of sustainable chemical management.
My voice check करना message है. Not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, no, here in the online.
I received a complaint from online.
Okay.
पेपरान बोला हो तो
એમાં ક્વેશ્ચન છે ચેટ બોક્સમાં દેખાય છે પણ ક્વેશ્ચન છે એમાં તો આપણે તો નહીં
હા એ લઈ લે.
લઈ ચલો. No, it's okay. I think it should be audible now. Just ask that question.
हेलो
नहीं म्यूट नहीं है ना वो तो।
नहीं अभी आया 355 को मैसेज आया.
बराबर है ना, ठीक है ना?
हेलो नॉट कमिंग इज अ मैसेज आया भाई એને આપણે એમાં
ये चालू है क्या आवाज?
તારામાં ચેક કરને.
It must be a problem with their end
with
also.
them
Yeah, it could be a problem with it,
Maybe-
because here it is audio is on. Hello. Yeah. It's on. Okay, so let me give you excuse me.
हेलो
Hello.
नीरव भाई नीरव.
Okay, let us quickly understand why chemical management is important. So here I have given you some live examples of what is the impact of chemicals, you know. So if you see on the left hand side, there was a dangerous chemical which was put into the wastewater, and about 70 tons of dead fish were washed up on Vietnam's shores because of some release of toxic chemicals. So it's an impact on the environment. Or this is a photograph which I took in one of my audits of some factory, where you can see some workers who are spraying potassium permanganate on denim garments. You have this faded effects which you get. It is by potassium permanganate. And the effect is that if you inhale these potassium permanganate fumes over a long time, it can cause pulmonary edema or waterlogging in the lungs of workers. So it affects your workers also. And this is a very famous photograph of Buck Bailey. This was a libel or legal case which took place against DuPont. So we all use this Teflon finish, you know, in our kitchens. So that is based on C8 chemistry, and C8 PFCs, which Gaitana said that perfluorochlorinated compounds, they are actually extremely harmful to nature, to human health also. And this Buck Bailey was born from a mother who was working in DuPont factory. And they came to know then that this is a teratogenic chemical, means it doesn't impact the pregnant mother, but it impacts the unborn child. And this child was born with a lot of deformities, like only one nostril and lots of brain damage and all. So these are the impacts on human health that you can get.
So Teflon manufacture
Yes, DuPont, yes. So now it is banned now, C8 and all this banned. So DuPont has stopped manufacturing it. For many years they manufactured it. And now they are now coming to light the effect of those chemicals. Now you will wonder why I am showing you a photograph of a polar bear, you know, when we are talking about chemical management. But why I am showing you is that a study was done on the fat tissue of the polar bear. And they found all kinds of hazardous chemicals in the fat tissue of the polar bear. They found brominated flame retardants, they found PFCs. Even a study was taken by Greenpeace of the snow in the Himalayas, the snow in Alps. There's a wonderful study called Footprints in the Snow by Greenpeace. And they found hazardous chemicals even in the snow there. And you just imagine that snow is melting and coming as rivers, and we are drinking that water. That's because it doesn't matter where we manufacture or use chemicals. They can be carried through air and water to all parts of the world. And that is where the Stockholm Convention is there, which he didn't mention, but where the 12 persistent organic pollutants are there. They can be carried by air, they can be carried by water also. So even in the North Pole, today we have these chemicals. So really speaking, like climate change, we have already polluted our world. Okay. So do you know how many chemical substances are manufactured in the world today? Just an example, just some figure.
In thousands.
In thousand, how much? Okay, there are 4 million.
Oh.
chemical substances with CAS numbers, which we manufacture in the world today. And the worst part is we do not know the hazards of 70% of these chemicals. Nobody has known what is the hazard.
70%. We
Yes.
know only 30%.
Yes, we know these 30%, but these are still used. In spite of the fact that we know that these are hazardous. In textile, in leather, in various things, you don't know what chemicals are there on your shirt. And you'll be surprised to know that you will find hazardous substances in your shirt. Okay. So how is it that chemicals impact us? Now, this is a slide which tells you, as Jayachandra said, it is physical, health and environmental hazards are there. But earlier, it was only thought that chemicals are toxic, means they cause death. So if they cause death, then they are hazardous. So, but now the definition of hazardous has widened, and there are about 18 hazard endpoints which can be applicable. So there are chemicals which can cause cancer. They are mutagenic. Mutagenic means they change your gene structure. They are reprotoxic. So that they don't kill you, but they will damage your reproductive system. They will cause cancer. They are endocrine disruptor. Endocrine disruptor means they damage your hormonal system. So they found in some rivers that the male fish started laying eggs. So it started exhibiting female characteristics because of certain chemicals which we use in detergents today. Alkyl phenol ethoxylate, which we use in detergent. There are some which are specific target organ toxic. They only impact your liver, or they will impact your heart. There are respiratory sensitizers, there are skin irritants, there are chemicals which are neurotoxic or developmental toxin. Example is lead. So why is lead being banned in paints? Because if lead goes to children, they have stunted growth. Or why was Maggie banned? You remember Maggie, there was a ban because lead was found in Maggie.
Dark chocolate also.
Dark chocolate also contains a lot of amount of lead. Then there are environmental impacts, which is persistent. Persistent means it doesn't biodegrade. This plastic bottle, if you throw this plastic bottle in the environment, it will remain in the environment for 400 years. It will not biodegrade. And that is why we say no to plastic, because it is persistent. There are some which are bioaccumulative, like what I talked about polar bear, So it goes into the fat tissue. It doesn't dissolve in water. Aquatic toxic. So these are all various kinds of hazards that this is how different ways chemicals affect us. So there is a need for a mindset change. There is no doubt that we cannot carry on the way we do. And there was a very, very big campaign which one NGO called Greenpeace. It's a global NGO which looks at environmental issues on the world. And they did a campaign they called it as Detox. And this was done in 2012 by Greenpeace. And they highlighted the pollution which is being caused by the textile industry. तो आप गारमेंट बनाते हो, आप खाली कट एंड सीव करते हो, लेकिन जो फैब्रिक बनाता है, जो आपका डाई हाउस है, वहाँ से काफ़ी केमिकल यूज होता है जो पानी में जा रहा है, जो एयर में जा रहा है, जो वर्कर्स को इफेक्ट हो रहा है. So this campaign actually led to a kind of mindset change requirement, and it was a wake-up call for the brands. And there is a need now to have a deep-rooted commitment in our organization. We need to evaluate the cost of non-compliance. So many people, ask me, कि यार ये सब compliance करने का मेरे को cost आता है. So I always ask them that, okay, ये cost आता है, but what is the cost of non-compliance? If I don't comply, कल ये दुनिया ही नहीं रहेगी, ये पानी ही नहीं मिलेगा अपने. तो क्या करने वाले हो आप कैसे बिजनेस करने वाले हो, And you have to think long term. So the time has come today that you cannot carry on the way you are doing, because in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, this world is already polluted, is already having a problem. We cannot continue, and we have to think. You have to sacrifice something now to have a long-term thing. Okay. So out of all these Greenpeace campaigns, ZDHC was born actually. So ZDHC is a collaboration of brands, and we formed this as a not-for-profit foundation in Netherlands in 2015. And this is our vision. Our vision is a world in which better chemistry leads to protection of life, land, air, and water. Because everything starts with chemistry. Because these chemicals, water pollution मतलब क्या? Chemicals जा रहा है. Air pollution मतलब क्या? Chemicals जा रहा है, तुम्हारा प्रोडक्ट सेफ नहीं है क्या है, मतलब केमिकल्स आर हैजार्डस. सो एवरीथिंग स्टार्ट्स विद केमिस्ट्री. सो हाउ डू वी कंट्रोल केमिस्ट्री इन आवर टेक्सटाइल लेदर प्रोडक्शन so that we can protect life, land, and air and water? That is our vision, and we drive the supply chains, of our brands to sustainable chemical management. So just to explain you what is ZDHC and what is not, it is not a certification. We don't believe that it should be a certificate. Like he talked about various certificates like GOTS and Blue Sign and all that. We approve them, but we say that ZDHC is not a certificate. It is actually a set of actions that the suppliers have to do. So you as a fabric buyer, you have to tell them to implement certain actions at their factory. Okay. And it's a holistic approach which focuses on clean inputs, because if I have clean chemistry, it is like a security guard in your factory. वो जो ऐसा गार्ड खड़ा रहता है वो अनरूली एलिमेंट को अंदर आने नहीं देगा तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगा. So we start with clean input so that we get clean output. And our focus is on not just consumer safety, worker safety, and environmental safety. So where do we start? So, I mean, if you are a textile factory today, which is involved in wet processing, the first thing is to really appoint some qualified, trained, chemical responsible person in your factory, or a team, which has rules and responsibilities and which drives this. Because ये technical चीज है, आपको ये कोई भी एरा गहरा नथु गहरा इसको समझेगा नहीं, आपको उसको ट्रेनिंग लेना पड़ेगा, उसको डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, and that person or team then starts managing this and drives this. The second is you start with your input chemicals. आप जो dyes use कर रहे हो, आप जो chemicals use कर रहे हो. So we have come out with a standard which we call as the manufacturing restricted substances, which is the MRSL. So अगर अपने को eliminate करना है hazardous, we have to list down कि भी किसको क्या करना है. So that list is the MRSL. We keep on updating this. We have the version 3.0 now. So every 2 years we update this with new substances, because as I said, 70% chemicals अपने को मालूम नहीं है, तो वो कुछ ना कुछ आते रहता है. जैसे उन्होंने बोला SVHC आता है या रीच में आता है या रेगुलेशन में आता है, तो वो substances हम लोग we keep on adding over here. And you have to ensure a chemical purchasing policy with a goal to purchase only MRSL conformant chemicals. So we actually from ZDHC provide a list of positive chemicals. Actually commercial formulations which are conformant to MRSL, we check it, we list it out in our platform, and all the textile companies of our brands, they buy from here. So we provide to them that aap yahi buy karo, don't buy anything else. Okay. Then how do you control risks in input chemicals? So we have input chemicals mein kya hai, you use formulations, or you use commodity chemicals, or you use solvent. These are the different kinds of chemicals. So first is you purchase MRSL conformant chemicals, and we have a platform which we call as the ZDHC gateway. So in this gateway, we have listed 1.5 lakh commercial chemical formulas are listed there. All kinds of dyes, all the chemical color text from Surat. So these are checked by us. They are tested, verified that they meet our standard, and then only they are listed in the gateway. So this whole list of 1.5 lakh chemical formulas is available to the textile industry today, free of cost. There is no cost to the supplier, and they can check the inventory. तो मैं किसका कोई डाई क्यों यूज कर रहा हूँ, पिगमेंट यूज कर रहा हूँ, सॉफ्टनर यूज कर रहा हूँ, वॉशिंग एजेंट यूज कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं खाली चेक करता हूँ कि वो लिस्टेड है कि नहीं गेटवे, एंड देन आई ensure that I check it. And how do we monitor the performance is that the suppliers, the textile companies, they upload their inventory every month into our gateway, and we calibrate it with our database, and they generate this in-check report. In-check is inventory check, and it gives you a summary that so many chemicals are conforming to the MRSL and so many are not. So you have to take actions continuously. And this is monitored by our brands. So we have 40 plus brands, not the 3 which you listed. There are 44 brands which are our members now. All the big ones, Nike, Adidas, Puma, M&S, CNA, H&M, everybody is our member. Inditex, everybody. So they all monitor what their suppliers do. And we have something like 20,000 textile companies all over the world which are registered on the gateway. And more than 4,000 chemical companies which are also registered and uploaded their products on the gate. So we have formed this ready database for suppliers and chemical industry to interact with each other. Then commodity chemicals, we have a document called commodity. So what we do is we set standards for the industry. These are voluntary standards. Like on behalf of the brands, we set some standards. And then these are implemented and monitored through the gateway. That is the method that we do in ZDHC. And similarly, we have a solvents approach guide, responsible solvent. How if you are using solvents, how you should manage them? How can you choose safer solvents? Okay, जैसे one of the famous examples is a chemical called DMFA, dimethyl formamide, which is used in the manufacture of polyurethane. So हम लोग जो भी shoes लेते हैं उसका जो sole रहता है नीचे का, that is all polyurethane. Even the seat covers are polyurethane. Polyurethane is artificial leather. जो vegan leather बोलते हैं, it is actually polyurethane. There DMFA is used, and DMFA is carcinogenic. It is cancer causing, and it is used in the manufacture of polyurethane. So here we suggest that instead of DMFA, what other solvent you can use, which is safer. So these are all guidelines that we have come out. And this is our gateway. This is our platform actually. And through this platform, the suppliers can register, they can find out the chemical, they can invite chemical companies to join in the gateway. They can report their activity to the brands. So the brands, chemical companies, suppliers, they are all connected on this gateway. And this is how digitally, for the suppliers, there is no charges. For the textile companies, there is no charges. Okay. Okay, I'm not getting into this.
For brands, it is charged.
So our revenue model is not this platform. Our revenue model is membership fee. So all these brands pay us a membership fee. So it's like not for profit. So, we take the fee and then we do this program. Then even raw materials, जैसे आप फैब्रिक ले रहे हो, डाइट फैब्रिक ले रहे हो, यार्न ले रहे हो, ग्रे फैब्रिक ले रहे हो, उसमें से भी hazardous substance chemicals आ सकते हैं. So you need to test it, or you need to secure it through some third party certification like Ecotex 100 और Blue Sign, जो इन्होंने कोई भी इको लेवल बताया, उसका आप ट्राई करो सर ये करने. So to it's all, how do you screen your inputs so you don't allow these substances to come in either through your chemicals or through your materials. And then there is one part which is managing chemicals on site. So अगर एक textile factory है, हमने chemicals buy किए, it comes into my factory. So I have to ensure safe storage. I have to ensure safe handling, because there are so many accidents which happen because the storage is not proper. You buy some solvent, then you keep it next to a switch, or spark उड़ के अगर solvents can catch fire easily, so you get so many instances of fire or spillages on the workers where you can have a lot of accidents. So how do you store, how do you handle, how do you give protective equipment like nose masks and all? This is all given in our guide called as technical industry guide. So CMS. I don't know पहले वाला कैसा है. These are all eco labels. Yeah. There are lots of labels which will get.
Labels are printed, ना? तो
हाँ,
उसमें
नहीं,
ink वगैरह use होता है.
हाँ, yeah. And then we have this supplier platform where the textile companies demonstrate how they are storing, how they are handling. So we are managing input chemicals, and we are managing how they are storing and handling also in this. And then finally, as I said, output management. So ZDHC is holistic, input se leke, process se leke, output. So what do you do in output? So we have a wastewater guideline where the supplier has to test his wastewater thrice in a year. Okay. And upload that report again in the gateway. And we see whether they are meeting those standards or not. And if they don't meet, then they have to do a corrective action. And RCA is a root cause analysis and corrective action. Similarly, sludge, we also sample and test the sludge, and we confirm वो कौन से disposal pathway में जा रहा है, कहाँ dispose कर रहा है. So what is the environmental impact of sludge? That is also we take care of. Even chemical waste. Then we check ETP efficiency, and we are now coming out with a guideline on air emissions. So how the workplace air as well as the ambient air, मतलब वो जो stack से जो जाता है वो भी है. There are of course legal norms for air emission, but we also go beyond that. So this is the clear stream. This is a wastewater test report which is uploaded, and we give them some scoring and rating, and accordingly the brands can check कि आपका wastewater discharge बराबर हो रहा है कि नहीं. So the brands check कि भी input chemical बराबर ले रहा है कि नहीं with our MRSL gateway. Then they check the storage and handling through our supplier platform, and they check the wastewater and sludge reporting.
ब्रांड्स को मैन्युफैक्चर नहीं कर रहा है,
नहीं,
सप्लायर मैन्युफैक्चरर्स
हाँ, तो they monitor this. अगर हाँ, through that platform they are connected with their suppliers. So they Inditex will have 5,000 suppliers. So they monitor everything digitally. ये हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. So we monitor digitally whether they are implementing or not, and wherever there is a requirement of improvement, we train. We go and train them. So that's all about ZDHC. And if you want to know more, or if you have questions on our website, which is roadmap20.com is our website, we have prepared something called as a knowledge base. It's a self-help desk. So you can go into our website. There is a tab called resources. If you click that, you will get this knowledge base. And we have, for various activities which we do, we have put it in these 5 boxes. And then you can search for a particular word, or you can search for some question. These are all answers to frequently asked questions. And even if you don't find any answer over there, then there is an email called support@zdhc.org, which is our customer support. So you can send an email and we will answer you there. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So he was, Jayachandra was talking about laws. Do you know, is there any law in India on chemical restriction? Restriction. Is there any law? आपने बोला नहीं है. There is one law. There is only one law in India, which is the azodized ban. Azodized ban hai, which was formulated by India in 1993. In which, after the Germany banned azodized, we also banned azodized. And so there is a law which banned 117 azodized. Manufacturing only. They banned it. And it was successfully implemented. And in fact, those dyes are not made in India now. And they were all cancer causing dyes. ये जो बोला ना, ये इसका जो PhD स्टडी था, तो वो सब मांदेड़ी प्रिंट में वो सब डाइज यूज होता था, तो बेंजीडीन बेस्ड डाइज था वो. बनता ही नहीं है because India government banned it. They banned it. They called it, the law is called as handling of azodite, in which manufacture, transportation, handling, everything was banned. It took some time, but it was phased out. And that is the only law in India. There is no other restriction on any chemical. हाँ.
Starts to naturally तो आपसे ये रहता है, but then वो there are different types of gums come. और गम आता है, आपका पता अलग अलग यूज करता है. I don't know what they use. Not a case of India, but an overseas case. यहाँ पे वो ironing के टाइम पे उसको जिसके कारण से वो non-compliant. Something was there. I mean, I don't know what was there, but the company तो follow कर रही सारे compliance requirements. जब उनका inspection में जब पकड़ा गया था, जब investigate किया भाई कहाँ पे क्या चीज है, एक जो चीज पे कभी कोई शक ही नहीं करेगा, वहाँ पे जाके सब पूछा तो वहाँ पे
तो कांजी में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, स्टार्च में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, बट देयर इज अनदर गम कॉल्ड सोडियम अल्जीनेट. उसमें पेंटाक्लोरोफिनॉल रहता है, पीसीपी रहता है उसमें.
तो सभी जितने भी लाइक केमिकल जो है लाइक साउथ सुडन और अक्रॉस इंडिया, तो वो तो एग्रीकल्चर जो भी है पीटीपी और सीटीपी की प्रोसेस के बिना तो आगे पॉसिबल नहीं है.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं, वो है कि यू कैन एलिमिनेट दीज थ्रू अ प्रॉपर एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट, दैट इज करेक्ट, but then you are only avoiding the environment. But what about going in the product? Or yeah, I mean you are dyeing. अभी आपका ग्रीन शर्ट है, अभी आपका ग्रीन शर्ट में डाइज यूज हुआ है, सॉफ्टनर यूज हुआ है, वॉशिंग एजेंट यूज हुआ है, तो there are some residues on the fabric also, no? And that can impact human health. Secondly, it can impact the workers who are handling it. So when you are working in a factory for 8 hours and you are applying, so those chemicals are getting, you are exposed to that. That is the exposure which you were talking about. So
How many are there?
Questions like, for example, if I give my garment to any test laboratory in India and ask them to find out if anything hazardous is used in my, they can do it?
Yeah, it depends on which lab. So there are labs which test for RSL, जो उन्होंने बोला ना, RSL is restricted substances list.
Okay.
So a lot of brands today, earlier they had separate, now they are aligned. So there is a universally accepted list of restricted substances. So if you go to some proper lab, like Intertech hai, या Bureau Veritas hai, या, there are many Indian labs also we do it. They will test it as per the RSL and they will tell you whether it is having any hazardous substance. And it is not only fabric, I mean, it is also the buttons or the sewing threads or the labels or linings or whatever. So a garment is even more complicated. And normally, वो laboratory में आप garment दोगे तो they will cut it into all those different components and then they will test. You won't believe a simple button. You know how many chemicals it contains? 17 chemicals are there in a button. 17. 17 chemicals are used. When I say chemicals, these are substances. There is a substance. Individual substance होता है with a particular structure. ऐसे 17 chemicals होते हैं button manufacture. In a normal textile factory, कितने chemicals use होते हैं? Easily around 100 to 120 different chemicals.
One more question, like these companies like Color Tex and many other chemical companies not related only to textile, but other, they are importing raw material from Far East.
Yes.
जब import होता है तो ये check होता है कि
Yes.
ये मतलब
So if it is a responsible chemical company, they do check. They monitor their raw materials because it can come from raw materials.
Indian government को
No.
बाहर एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं उस पर काफी पाबंदियां है.
इंडियन गवर्नमेंट कोई रिस्ट्रिक्ट नहीं करता है.
देखा हमने कोरिया देखा करके जिसकी को पता है वहां पे कुछ ना कुछ आ रही है.
सर एक चीज पूछना था, जब हम इंपोर्ट करते हैं कोई भी प्रोडक्ट, इसके ऊपर प्रोटेक्शन कवर लगता है प्लास्टिक का, जैसे एक बड़ा पैलेट आया उसके ऊपर प्लास्टिक का कवर लगा. अब उस मटेरियल के लिए, वो प्रोडक्ट के लिए, वो प्लास्टिक के लिए सीपीसीबी का कंसर्न और सीपीसीबी का मेंबरशिप क्यों चाहिए?
To my understanding and the extended producer responsibility है, प्लास्टिक वेस्ट की जो गाइडलाइंस निकाली सीपीसीबी ने, तो उसके अंतर्गत प्लास्टिक का यूज को मिनिमाइज करने के लिए that has been brought out and
आवाज नहीं आ रहा आपका.
implementation CPCB is the implementation body for that.
हाँ, आवाज नहीं आ रहा था.
हेलो,
आवाज नहीं आ रहा था.
हम कह रहे थे कि आप जो बोल रहे थे दैट इज कवर्ड विद इन द ईपीआर रिक्वायरमेंट, एक्सटेंडर प्रोड्यूसर्स रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के अंदर. विद इन दैट फॉर द प्लास्टिक रेगुलेशन फॉर इट्स कंप्लायंसेस के लिए सीपीसीबी हैज इम्प्लीमेंटेड दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम, जहाँ पे इम्पोर्टर्स जब उनकी लाइनिंग मटेरियल जब प्लास्टिक की कुछ होती है उसको रिसाइकल करने का प्रावधान उसमें दिया गया है. तो आपके जितने भी इम्पोर्ट्स होते हैं वो सारा रिकॉर्ड्स होंगे एंड देयर इज ऑल्सो क्राइटेरिया कि आपको इतना मतलब एक अवधि के तहत आपको इतना रिसाइकल करना भी ऐसा मैंडेटरी बनाया गया है उसके अंदर. दैट्स पार्ट ऑफ द ईपीआर एक्टिविटी व्हिच द क्वेश्चन दैट यू आस्क्ड फॉर राइट नाउ.
अरे सर, इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ अननेसेसरी हैरेसमेंट बाय द डिपार्टमेंट. अरे एक प्लास्टिक का बैग आता है दैट इज कवर्ड अप सिंगल पैलेट, इट डजंट कंटेन मोर देन 500 ग्राम्स, और वो कहीं ना कहीं तो रिसाइकलिंग रीयूज में विद इन द फैक्ट्री और उसमें यूज हो जाता है. तो ऐसे ऐसे हर्डल डालते जाएंगे तो वो सॉल्व करेंगे कि फिर दूसरे प्रोडक्ट में हम लोग वो लगाएंगे.
एक्चुअली प्रोटोकॉल्स रिलीज किया गया है. आई मीन दिस हैज बीन ब्रॉट आउट आफ्टर कंसल्टेशन इज आवर
वो प्रोटोकॉल मतलब वो क्वांटिटी उतना है, जैसे कि बल्क क्वांटिटी है, देन देयर इज अ इश्यू. अब वो एक प्लास्टिक का बैग लगा है, वो प्रोटेक्शन के लिए लगाया हुआ है या फिर अंदर लेयरिंग के लिए लगाया हुआ है. तो उसके लिए ये सीपीसीबी और इसके लिए मटेरियल होल्ड करके नेसेसरी टाइम बिगाड़ते हैं।
What they are actually packaging, that's why that EPR comes into the picture. अभी ये develop हुआ है, just 1 year. So that is a like we do factory audit वगैरह कैसे करते हैं, उसका पूरा ये है पूरा. वो उसका ultimate goal यही कि and that is I talk to the all these people कि other applications भी है, but as far as textile is concerned, जो भी plastic packaging use हो रहा है ना, तो उसको वो टेस्टिंग कर, हाँ उसको वो उसके अंदर वो ये फॉल हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, वेदर इट इज एनी हार्मफुल और ये है.
और अगर if you don't know the ecosystem of सूरत, I will like to tell you, यहाँ सूरत में जितने लैक्स ऑफ किलो मटेरियल होता है, या उसके ऊपर एक पॉलीथीन बैग लगता है. ईच एंड एवरी फैक्ट्री कलेक्ट इट टू रिस्टोर इट समवेयर एंड सेंड इट टू द रिसाइकलर. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो कहीं ना कहीं वो गार्बेज करते हैं या यूज. इवन अ सिंगल कार्टन बिन kept aside and use it 3, 4, 5 times. तो ये रिकमेंडेशन जो प्रोटोकॉल ने जिस बॉडी ने लगाया है उसको देना चाहिए कि भाई ये अननेसेसरीली क्यों हर्डल इशू ये कर रहे हैं. एक शिपमेंट को 3 दिन में क्लियर हो जाना चाहिए. एक ये सर्टिफिकेट की वजह से 15-20 दिन वो इधर से इधर घुमाते रहेंगे.
गवर्नमेंट में रिप्रेजेंट करके इसका इश्यू सॉल्व कर सकते हैं.
As association, you can try to put it across.
Not
but,
right, not right.
If CPCB is implementing this thing, maybe you can try to talk to the local agency.
और वो प्लास्टिक मटेरियल इट इज बियॉन्ड द लिमिट ऑफ वन टाइम यूज प्लास्टिक के उसमें आता है नॉर्म्स में, जो एंटायर इंडस्ट्री कहीं यूज नहीं करती है. और उतना मोटा मटेरियल है जो बंदा अपने घरों के छत पे लगा के 5 साल ऐसे ही यूज कर लेता है. तो इट डजंट नीड एनी मोर रिसाइकलिंग प्रोसेस.
Not it. Paresh bhai, Amit here from Chamber of Commerce, committee member. If એવું પોસિબલ હોઈ શકે છે કે આ જો પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ આપણે પૂરી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીઝ को अगर ये प्रॉब्लम्स है अगर हाँ
नहीं, ये पूरी इंडस्ट्री का है. जो भी इंपोर्ट होता है उसमें प्लास्टिक कवर लगा होता है. वो वहां पे वो सीपी का सर्टिफिकेट मांगते हैं या मेंबरशिप मांगते हैं कि आप वो मेंबर हो कि नहीं.
यस आई अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई सजेस्ट सर के एसोसिएशन के साथ मिलके हमारा चैम्बर का एक एनवायरनमेंट कमिटी है सर. हाँ वी रिप्रेजेंट टू जीपीसीबी एंड सीपीसीबी ऑल्सो. हाँ कि आवर इंडस्ट्री इज फेसिंग दिस टाइप्स ऑफ स्मॉल प्रॉब्लम्स. सो कुछ उसका रास्ता निकल सकता है वो हिसाब से.
क्योंकि उनका कंसर्न है, ठीक है, ये आप रिसाइकल कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं. बट अब एक प्लास्टिक का 200 ग्राम का वो कंटेंट है, उसमें रिसाइकलर के लिए सर्टिफिकेट लाना, उसके यहाँ भेजना, दैट इज नॉट. वो तो कहीं ना कहीं इंडस्ट्री में यूज हो ही जाता है एज ए रीयूज मटेरियल. मैं वो डिटेल दे भिजवाता हूँ आपको.
नोटेड. एक बार चैम्बर के एनवायरनमेंट कमेटी से भी मैं आपको कांटेक्ट करवाता हूँ. जी जी.
ओके, थैंक यू.
One sir, two questions. One is that one basic chemical for textiles, like I wanted to know in your MRSL list, any progress is there while we are importing from, we are a lot of depending on this intermediate for dyes, some raw material from importing from China, because India is not making for that. So many are there small. Okay.
We are not concerned with that. We are concerned with the final.
Yeah.
The final chemical formulation which is used by the textile industry.
Yeah, we are depending on that while we are importing.
Yeah, so that is the responsibility of the chemical company, no?
Yeah.
So that's what he was asking, no? They're like companies like Colortex and all. Do they monitor the raw material? Yes, they have to, no? Because if you find some restricted substances there, you will find it in their final product. That is for the chemical industry, na? What will ZDHC do in that? Okay, any other questions or? Yeah, bad now. No, see, there is a misconception of azodise. So azodise is a general this thing. There is a banned amines actually which are restricted. and there is a list of some 21 banned amines, which are or 22 banned amines, which are restricted. They come from certain azodyes. So not all azodyes are banned, but there are some azodyes which can release these banned amines. And these banned amines, if they go in your body, so supposing there is a fabric which is having these amines and a child is putting it in his mouth, then it can go in the body and then it can cause effect on your health. That is the whole idea. Yes, sir.
So everything is
Yeah,
concluded. Q&A also, question answer?
yeah.
Before time, yeah. No, it's on the time. So, we are thankful to city basically because they were the pioneer in organizing this session. And we are thankful to our speaker, Mausmiji and Ingrid from Fairware Foundation. Also, Mr. Jaychandran Nair ji, Madam Dishti Patel and Prasad ji. This was just, as a Surat point of view, I think this was just the beginning for us. And we need to have a regular session, this type of session, in the interval, say around 2-3 months. And one more thing, I requested them that basically we need to have a brand of Surat cluster because we are doing so many things, but it is not being, documented. Like for example, uh, the water consumption per kilo of the textile. The India average is around 650 liters per kg, and our Surat is 450 liters per kg. This study was done by UNIDO, and same way we are using a lot of renewable energy to produce textile. We are having highest CTP capacity.
450 liters for 100% polyester.
Yeah, this is 100% polyester. We are using a lot of the thing, renewable energy, and we have highest CTP capacity in textile manufacturing class, that is 600 MLD. And Surat is employing around 4 lakhs women in employment in textile industry. So anyway, we have direct exporters are very few in Surat. So basically there are more of merchant exporters. But then now the export culture is day by day increasing. So we have, yeah, 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 yes, yeah. So what we'll do is we will, have a good press note about today's program so that all the interested exporters will engage more and more in this type of session. So we have our honorary secretary, Mr. Nirav Mandlewala. He will propose the formal vote of thanks.
Good evening, friends. In fact, we are planning this program with CT since last month. On 16 June, the new team, the new president of SCCA, Vijay Mewala, took the charge as the president of this chamber. And the first proposal for the program that came was from CT through Ashish Bhai, that we should do this program together for developing an ecosystem in the textile industry. And in fact, since last 25 to 30 days, we are working with CT for spreading awareness regarding the latest update in the textile industry daily through the messages and knowledge sharing through digital media. So actually, we had planned this program on a very different mode, but due to the uncertainty of the weather, we need to do today in this closed forum.
All the school and colleges are also closed.
Yes,
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 yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
No, the official figure was 170, but according to our knowledge, around more than 220, 230 people were expected to be present in the entire day program. But what happened, we can't, it's a nature's call, and today all the schools are also closed in the city. But still, today it was a really very great program. Many people have came forward in this forum over here since morning, And even on the online platform, many of the people, participants have participated. And on behalf of the Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industries, I would like to thank the leadership of city, our past president, especially Ashish Bhai Gujarati, all the speakers who came today from the morning to in all the sessions to deliver their knowledge for this industry, Mr. Prashad Pantji, and all the participants who joined physically in this rainy season and also joined us on through Zoom meet. So on the part of SECI, I would like to thank all of you, and also I would like to thank the media people who are some of the few of the media people are even present here and present in through online also for joining us. I would also like to thank our SGCCI staff members who are continuously with you together since the morning to conduct this program. And we assure you that in future also we would be doing the same type of program, and we expect such association with city also in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.